Our second speaker is Dr. Shyamal Majumder, head of the UNESCO Univoc International Centre in Bonn, Germany. Dr. Majumdar's previous roles include Director General of the Colombo Plan Staff College for Technician Education in Manila in the Philippines, Vice President of the International Vocational Education and Training Association, and Professor at the National Institute of Technical Teachers Training and Research in Calcutta, India. He's speaking today about the importance of skilling in the Sustainable Development Goals.
This one?
Yep.
Very good. Yes. Good afternoon. Being a last speaker, I have a liberty to take as much time I can, I think. So first of all, it is indeed a great pleasure and honor for me to be here. And at the outset, I like to thank WFCP and TAFE Directorate Australia for organizing a wonderful conference, not in terms of volume, but the relevance of the topic, the future world of work. Right from, you can say, from America to Pacific Island to Caribbean Island, all ministers are concerned what will be the role of skill in the future. My deliberation will be on the 6 points. Set the tone on context, how we look at this problem, and then I will talk about Sustainable Development Goal. Will you kindly help me? How many of this in this house, in this room, has heard Sustainable Development Goal? Yeah. Then I will talk about UNESCO Tibet strategy and what's the Univoc role there. The organizers specially request me to talk about equity because this is the no one will be left behind and how it's related with SDG. Then I will talk about some of the challenges and progress and few remarks finally. The first issue is 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development Goals. 15 September 2015 is a historic milestone day for the whole world. I'm sometimes look at the going one conference to another, surprised still many people do not know Sustainable Development Goal. This is the 17th goal set by all member states in United Nations. Marvelous achievement. 17 goals started with no hunger, no poverty, good health, good education, quality education, and clean water, good infrastructure, decent job. All the goals are there, 1 to 17. And you will be glad to know, in spite of politicians are sometimes very difficult to understand, but at least United Nations agreed to come to a conclusion that by 2030, there will be 169 targets to be fulfilled. Those who are working in education and Tibet in particular, we should really look at this agenda very carefully and put up the bottom-up pressure on the government, whatever government, left, right, center, anything, that what will happen to this target. Can Brazil will meet this target? Can India can meet this target? As China will meet the target, even African countries will meet the target. So that's why it is a golden opportunity for all of us that you have one agenda in the world to follow and to press upon to work together. If you look, what is special about this agenda? We have been in Millennium Development Goal, but Millennium Development Goal was, if you remember carefully, it was focused on developing country only. When I talk to Germany, France, all the developed countries, including Australia and others, they said Millennium Development Goal is not our agenda. This is the agenda of developing world only, because primary education was the main target. But today, when you look at the 17 agenda, first, this is not only, applicable to one country or two countries. It is applicable to all. The first thing, the beauty of the vision of this is that first time in the world, politicians compelled to think that without people prosperity and without planet being harmonious, there can be no peace in the world. So development is the cliche word we use. What do you mean by development? If the climatic conditions are deteriorating, if there is no harmony, what do you mean by development? Is it development for 5%, 10% of the population getting richer and richer? And thousands of people has no job? They're going one spot to another? Will they buy your development agenda if it is not inclusive agenda? So it's basically, for the future students, I will say, your future's one way is bright, because the world decided there is actually basically 5P: people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership. What is for the job? Job is not the only answer to these all questions. Job is fundamental, but there are work and life balance is also important. Quality of things is also important. So this is why it is universally relevant. It is relevant to Germany, it's relevant to Papua New Guinea, it's relevant to Fiji. Yes, this is universally relevant agenda. Second, it is holistic and interconnected. Look at any one of the agenda: water, clean water. When you look at the clean water, it is connected with how the clean water will be given if the skill doesn't have, the people do not have the skill how to maintain filtration, how to do others. You are talking of training. You make wonderful training. If economic sector do not reform the economy in such a way the jobs are not created, there is no incentive mechanism, government has no policy. So all are actually interconnected. So it is a holistic and interconnected. It is transformative. The idea is no one should left behind. That's the one we have to look into. Education as a fundamental human rights. It's not mercy of any government. Whether rich, poor, middle, whatever country, you can raise the voice, say it is a fundamental right that the government should ensure the education and skill has to be given. The last one, there is only one education agenda now, where access, equity, inclusion, quality, and gender is the main focus of that. With this idea, if you look the 17 goal again, you will see that one goal, specifically we have to remember, that is the goal number 4, is on quality education. What is that goal says? Ensure equitable and inclusive quality education and lifelong learning opportunities for all by 2030. You might tell me one thing, that this is too ambitious. Will it be possible to realize in 2030? But I'm very optimistic in a sense, say, I'm not very concerned how much percentage it will be achieved. But at least first time the world politicians came together with a clear-cut vision saying that these are the issues and this needs to be guaranteed. And as a TVET institution, leaders, faculty, students, we should also take full advantage of this to take into the road. So that's why equitable, inclusive, quality education and lifelong learning opportunities. So all the 17 goals has been given without skill. These are the central to the realization of 2030. This is the time for us. This is the time those who are working in school, colleges, and different skill is really a concern for all the member states that we have traveled from one corner to another. Then there are 3 special targets. There are 7 targets on the education, 3 targets specially, 4.3, I'm just quoting from 7, 4.4, and 4.5. If you look carefully, equal access for all women and men, yes, in many countries, women are not lagging much behind. There is no scope of the provision. That's a real concern in many countries. Quality education, technical and vocational education, increase the number of the youth of the relevant skill, and by 2030, eliminate gender disparities in education and equal access with a global education, and particularly when we talk about vocational education and training for vulnerable, including persons with disabilities, linguistic people, indigenous people, children in vulnerable solutions. With this idea, now, if you ask me now, okay, this is very brilliant, the agenda has been set. Skill is the central stage in the member states' country. UNESCO, that's why, give high priority on skill now. UNESCO earlier, much more, not, I will say, before 5 or 6 years before, skill was not major agenda, but we make a strategy now. When any minister comes to us to advise, yeah, fantastic, you have given skill the agenda, what we will do for the country? First thing we'll say, yes, give importance to transforming TVET first, before you scale it up. If you don't transform the TVET system, you follow the same old system without any corrective measure, you are investing in a wrong direction more forcefully, which is dangerous. Then they ask us, how do you know whether we are in the right direction or not? The first thing of any TVET policy is economic lens. In this conference, much has been talked about. Economic lens is nothing but responsive to the labor market. Skill mismatch, looking for job, efficiency, all this issue, productivity, competitiveness, these are economic lens. This is a basic lens. But do you think that economic lens is the only answer to this world? Then why there are countries with 7 to 10% growth rate for 7 or 8 years consecutively, I'm not naming the country here, the wealth difference is maximum? And why only 7 to 10% people get fruits of the development and 90% people has no future? It is not only economic lens will survive this world. You need equity lens. The equity lens is inclusiveness. Nobody talk about development today. People talk inclusive development. If your neighbor is not happy, if your rural sector is not happy, if the common people do not find the fruits of the development, we don't want that development. That is more dangerous than real development. You can reduce the GDP growth rate, but never compromise with social equity angle. That's the message I like to. And I will come to the students, that here you have a very important role to play, which will come in my next slide. The third one, so you have 33% economic, 33% inclusive, and rest of the thing, transformational. This is the main area we have to do. If we are not responding to the climatic change, and TVET is like fossil fuel one, then you are not transformational. If you are not talking of lifelong learning pathways, you are not transformational. There is many things we have to talk about the well-being of the person, not only job only. That is where work and life balance should be there. Community development should be there, will be also transformational aspect of it. So to do this transformational part of the development, there are some strategic transformation we need to do. What are the strategic transformation? First strategic transformation is TVET should not be a simple TVET. It should be innovative TVET. When you say innovative TVET, don't think only Industry 4.0, for God's sake. When you look at the Industry 4.0, we are fully agreed that is important. But the word industry sometimes limits us to think only the companies and Industry 4.0. Industry 4.0 has a different dimension also. In agricultural economy, Industry 4.0 is relevant. It is also relevant in the service sectors. So all kind of innovation we need to do. Like if a poorest of the poor people is working in some way and you don't find any technological solution for that, only you do the manufacturing area work, I think where we are living now, this is not the world we are talking about. The purpose is social innovation. Yes, industrial innovation, but social innovation, social transformation, that's also very important play. I'm very glad to see when young people nowadays doing research, telling to them, okay, I'm not interested in only job, I'm interested what kind of jobs this is. Is it really helping the people? And then they really go for it. And recently I was in Brazil. Before that, I was in Technica. Those all the Univoc Center are here. I see that first thing comes to their mind, is this going to help the common people? That's the social innovation part of it. And there are a lot of magic is happening there. And I'm so hopeful about the potential of the student here to do that. Second one is lifelong learning. I don't want to go into the detail, a lot of it done. Earlier, school to work. So some of the speakers said, let's stop graduation ceremony. Graduation ceremony that you will not come back again. You are graduated, bye-bye, and we make a very good graduation ceremony. But now you are coming back not only one time, you are coming 10 times. How many graduation ceremony we will do? You see, our thinking process still, we follow the same model, school to work. There is a work to school model, and we need to think about this holistically. The third, greening TVET. Those who are interested to know about this, we have come up with the greening TVET guide, I think, which shows how TVET institution will transform to the holistic way of greening TVET. That's very, very important. That's the future. The fourth one, STEAMing TVET. As my time is short, those who are interested, we can discuss later. STEAM is nothing but science, technology, engineering, arts, math must be integrated in the TVET now. Because when you look at nanotechnology's technician and nanotechnology engineer, can you tell me the fundamental knowledge there is a huge difference? To understand nanotechnology, biotechnology, information communication technology, space technology, I can go on, go on, go on. The subject of monodiscipline has been gone. It is a multidisciplinary world. And whether you are a technician or an engineer, the fundamental things are coming like if you have a strong foundation, I think you just said, then you can opt for many other options. Learning to learn, adaptability skill comes from not only transferable skill devoid of domain. With domain, we have to create that, and then your confidence is there. I took a lot of interview. When a student comes to me, like in Microsoft and others, sometimes they ask us to be the interview board. I have seen today young people, you give, say suppose, came for a job in, say, Google, and they're asking one thing, that do you know a language has come which is called Carva? Do you know that language? Then the student will reply, no, we don't know that. Is it object-oriented language? And then we have to say, yes, this is object-oriented language. Yeah, we know the mechanism of object-oriented language. I know C++, but I don't know what the language you are talking of, Carva. Can you give me the manual for 15 days or 1 month? I will come back to you, and I will tell you whether I master it or not. Look at that. If you have a fundamental knowledge very strong, that is the object-oriented technology, then you can take any of the language. That's why TVET skill should not be look like just going for a certificate and just for one single job. When you do not know that C++ has been replaced by Java, then you lost all the job because you do not know the mechanism behind it. You only know the technique to use that. It is not screwdriver technology. So that's why STEAMing becoming very, very important. You must have a strong foundation. The finally is we must think of this world of inclusive TVET. With this transformational angle, UNESCO came up with the priority, like we have a TVET strategy. The first one, fostering youth employment and entrepreneurship. We advise all member states that not only for salaried job, this is a world of entrepreneurial mindset. So in the curriculum to all, we need to, and this entrepreneurial is not only startup. This is also another wrong notions going on. It's always we are thinking up. This entrepreneurial can be a small, in a village, running a small shop, but at the same time, if they are integrated that skill with the occupation. Like in many of the country now coming up with the, they call it green travel and tourism. In that case, they don't stay in a big hotel. They go for places where Tibet school provided all the different kind of innovative services to them culturally, ethically, and this way, that's really a kind of innovation or entrepreneurial thing. Second one is like gender issue, which is very equity and gender equality issue. The third one, transition to digital and greening society, how to facilitate that. This strategy being implemented in UNESCO UNIVOC, this is UNESCO UNIVOC, all the dots are the UNIVOC centers. There are 240 UNIVOC centers in 170 countries. So this, our network, is not only north-south, it is a north-south-south. So we encourage this collaboration in a way, south-south collaboration. We also say north-south is important, then we can also combine. So they work together, worldwide network of Tibet institutions from initial to post-secondary educations. This network, basically, when we talked about, we give a clear strategy here. If you ask me in a single way, what is the main problem in implementing Tibet in any member states? Largely developing and emerging country. The first and foremost problem is developing capacity of Tibet leaders. I have been in many countries, there are a lot of policy came up, but when it comes to implementation, you will see the capacity of the leaders are not there, and they are lacking that capacity. So this, in my opinion, number one. So that's why we started a global Tibet flagship program. We have trained up to 75 Tibet leaders now, and we will target it up to 150. What we do after the leader, we support them to transform. Just getting a credential is not this course. This course, once you have attended, you will have to write a proposal. The proposal has to be implemented. Funding mechanism will be supported. Third, we want to generate new knowledge and new resources. And finally, we want to do strengthening the collaboration all. Then there are many others who work on that. Based on that, as organizer had told me, I know I have 8 minutes, so inclusive education. I will quickly run through what we are talking about the inclusive education. UNESCO believes education is a fundamental and enabling right. Education is a public good. It should be accessible to disadvantaged groups, including gender, social, physical, and system. There are 4 we mentioned, and there may be more. So SDG focus basically on equity, inclusion, no one left behind, eliminate all forms of discrimination. That's the philosophy behind the SDG goal. When we say individual can be included or excluded, there are different dimensions. Physical inclusion or exclusion taking place. Social inclusion and exclusion can take place in many countries. We know that some kind of community are not allowed to access this, to do that. So these are social inclusion, real a problem. Psychological, like those who have physically challenged person, cognitive challenged person. And then systematic. The fee structure is so high, some of the community cannot afford to do that. Traditional indigenous people being deprived of many of the development fruits. All these issues we need to address in a clearly way. The key is not only equal learning opportunities, but equal achievement and citizenship opportunities. Sometimes we give like scholarship only to say that we are giving the equal learning opportunities, but we need to ensure they are part of the equal citizenship opportunities. With this idea, there is an articulation of the challenges has been done. The first, when we look about different phases of the disadvantaged youth, it can be unequal right to access education. It can be non-accessible to decent job. Many of the work is very underemployed and not at all decent job. That's the thing we need to worry. There are physically challenged people need to be included. Physical and cognitive challenged people is also another type. We have a digital inclusion. We have indigenous and ethnic minority in different. We need to do that. With this mind, I will just quickly go through each one. Unequal right to access to education, 263 million, 1 in 5 children aged 6 to 17 are not in school. Girls of every school age are more likely to be excluded from education than boys. Alarming figure in some of the region that the figure comes to below 10%, the gender. So it's a real, we are not really fully taking the advantage of half sky. We are working on the half sky only. So that's why there is a huge global investment is needed. So that is already on UN agenda, and there are 2 schemes are going on for supporting this idea. Decent job, 780 women and men working, not earning enough. Worker in the vulnerable jobs like lack society, safety nets, and thus. And you can see country to country, really it is when it comes to vocational education idea, and this is far, far away from the decent job. So ILO has rightly said that not only job, we have to say decent job. Long-term challenge, 15% of the world population, 1 billion, live with disabilities, and 90% of the children with disability do not attend school. High dropout rates to barrier the learning environment. So that's why inclusive teaching practices and access to equity will be very, very important. Digital, we are talking of so much of digital. We really worried. The new digital divide is coming again. When we are talking about this high digitization, it is happening. If we don't take a corrective measure capacitating them, I think digital divide will more increase. So more than half of the world population, 3.9 billion people, did not have access to internet still. Over 250 fewer women are online than men. There are many other figures can come on digital inclusion, but encouraging side is that people without literacy, without going to school, but they are using smartphone and doing miracle. That's also, I will say, a opportunity side of that. So we need to really be innovative now, how quickly we can shorten the gap. The barrier to the traditional cultural exclusion and geography, there are approximately 370 million indigenous people worldwide in over 90 countries. Although they make the 5% of the global population, they account about 15% of extreme poor. So I think we really have to address that, and indigenous people, we need to keep in mind that development will not be inclusive if they are not on the board, on the mainstream. So there's one network we are practicing now, learning from the international practices for Tibet for disabled. In Senai, Brazil, they have done a project. They are the Univoc centers. In CGAP, Canada, they have adopted a very good model. There is a ECCD, Ethiopia, also done a good model. Cometa in Italy, in Como, they are doing a splendid job for particularly for those school enterprise model for the foster children. And there are in Indonesia, very recently, they have come up with this. We want to make a network like this. I just give one example to you, that we want to take all this issue and then they make a sub-network and start, sharing their experience and doing that. I like to say that inclusive education require actually national legal framework and policy. Many countries do not have. Government and financing, curricula and learning materials that should be specially prepared for that. Capacity development, which is very important for school leaders, teachers, and personnel, and multi-stakeholder partnership and networking. I'm just 1 minute, 50 seconds left. I'd like to conclude my presentation with this quotation of Macro Bizzari. Diversity and inclusion, which are the real grounds for creativity, must remain at the center what we do. Whenever you talk about creativity, innovation, brilliance, 2 words always keep in mind: diversity and inclusion. Today, in the modern age, when digital disruption is happening, greening, climatic disruption is happening. Migration has taken a social disruption in a big, big way, never we have thought about. Managing skill in disruption time is a different ballgame. In this world, we need to be very careful that not only top-down innovation will work, we need to have bottom-up innovation. And that innovation without diversity and inclusion is meaningless. Sometimes I emotionally say, I really painful sometimes when she said, yes, everywhere education has increased, but when we see the world is shrinking day by day, because we have not addressed the problem of many countries, we have not done the adequate work of the development worldwide unity, then what has happened? Terrorism, different kind of extremism, different kind of separate mentality is predominating. We need education not just for the job. We need a good education which make a complete human being. Thank you very much.